There we go.
Great. How's everybody doing tonight? Great. Thank you guys for being here. I know there's a million things you guys could have been doing tonight. So we really want to thank you for taking the time to be here with us tonight. Whether you're here as a friend coming to support somebody or a client coming to review the ideas we have shared, or simply help us with the growth of a company, we want to thank you for taking the time to be here with us. Okay. Tonight you're going to hear from several speakers. The first speaker is going to be Robin Sears. Robin Sears is going to talk to you about a problem that's happening across America right now, a problem that's real. And the next speaker is going to be Wade Skolsky. Wade Skolsky will talk about a solution to that problem that we feel is not only needed but vital right now. And then the last speaker is going to be Brett Sears. So Brett Sears is going to close out the meeting, tie everything together, and he's going to talk to you about the opportunities we have in front of us. So please help me welcome Robin Sears.
Hello, everybody. I'm particularly excited tonight. My mom's here. Hi, Mom. And it's particularly exciting for me for my mom to be here because tonight is what we call our AAA'z Night, our allies, advocates, and associates. And it's really about inviting the people in our life who we care about to hear about what we're doing so that they can support us. And so Mom being here tonight is the prime example of an advocate in our lives who continues to come so that she knows how she can best support what we're doing in here. So it's very exciting. So tonight we're going to talk about, as we said, a problem that a group of us in here are really dedicated to making a difference in the world about. And most of us in here have an idea of what we do. This company, we have always been dedicated to helping people. And we were known, and the way that we helped people for years and years and years, 22 years ago, my husband would go into a house to help a family. And he would help a family with life insurance. We were dedicated, and we're always dedicated to helping families with financial security. And part of that financial security plan meant that you needed to have a safety net for your family. And for the most part, we were talking to kids of parents of the Depression. And so they knew what it meant to have something taken out from under them. We were talking about the generation of Prudential at the half. So the question of whether you should or shouldn't have life insurance wasn't really an issue. The question was, what kind of life insurance? And when we went into homes, most of the time, people had what we're going to call the bad kind, and we got to show them the good kind. And that wasn't such a hard gig, right? They'd already decided they needed help, and we were showing them a better way to help themselves. So the last couple of years, something changed, and we started to go into homes and found that there was a new reality. People had no insurance. They had no safety net. And it wasn't about what kind they should have. It was about whether they should have it. And we would go into homes, and one day I noticed it was 10 in the morning, and there was a 4-year-old playing with blocks. And I turned to her mom and said, why is the 4-year-old here playing with blocks and not at preschool? And she said, well, we've great preschool down the road, but we didn't make enough money to qualify for the scholarship. We don't make enough money to get free preschool, so she's going 2 out of 5 days a week. Well, that's interesting. Went into another home, and there was a 19-year-old eating a bowl of cereal playing video games. And I was like, hey, what's the 19-year-old doing here? Graduated high school, already knew he was going to college, super bright, knew he was getting good grades, knew the family well. And the mom was like, well, we got into UCLA, and he couldn't afford to go, so he's at College of the Canyons. People had no safety net. They were compromising on when and whether their kids were going to preschool and to college. And when we started to talk about retirement, well, we've had a ton of folks who said, oh yeah, I maxed out my 401k, I'm fine. And what we started to see was, yeah, you maxed out your 401k, but do you really know how much money you need to retire? Do you really know your financial independence number? Because when we crunched those numbers, we figured out that they were only halfway there. And they were 5 years from retirement, or so they thought. So we took a step back and said, something is changing in our world. Something's different from when we used to go into homes. And what's different? When we take a look at the world, we've got folks at the top, the wealthy. This is no surprise. Wealthy people have access to education. It's not a question of whether a wealthy person's going to college. Welcome. The question is, which college are you going to? It's institutionalized that you're going to college because your parents went and your grandparents went. Ownership. Every person at the top owns something. My new favorite line. Those of us who work are climbing the corporate ladder. Folks at the top own the corporate ladder. Which would you rather? Right? We'd all rather own that corporate ladder. And financial guidance. Hundreds of thousands of people wake up every day and say, how can I serve the person with money because they can pay me? Makes perfect sense. At the top, we have institutionalized service. And we said, okay, well, what else is happening? At the bottom, what we call the not so wealthy, we actually have free preschool. We live in a great country, and as a country, we've decided we are going to take care of the bottom portion of the folks who live here. And there are hundreds of thousands of people who wake up every day and say, I want to have impact. And I'm going to have impact by working at a nonprofit and by making a difference for the folks at the bottom. Here we have institutionalized support. And then we saw this big gaping hole in the middle. And what's happening in the middle? These are what we call Main Street families. And basically, I call it everybody else. Right? It's you, it's me, it's our brothers, it's our sisters, it's our community. It's anyone living paycheck to paycheck. And that can be a single parent teacher making $40,000 a year, or a dual income family living in Stevenson Ranch making $300,000 a year. Because the only difference between those two families is how much their car payment is, how much their mortgage is, and as my husband has coined the term, they're just a better shade of work. We're all suffering from the same things. We want our kids to go to preschool. We want our kids to go to college. We'd love to own a business. And we certainly would want financial guidance if we knew it was available to us. But these are things that aren't available to us readily. In the middle, when we take a look at it, we're on our own. We're taught to be on our own. There are over 70 million families in this middle. And the reality is that we're stuck. We're stuck because these are the folks, we're the folks who are paying for the goods and services that are provided by the wealthy and for the taxes that support the not so wealthy. We're stuck in the middle. And for the most part, we don't even know it. And when we do know it, when we do sit in here and hear it, we actually think it's okay. We're like, yeah, it's okay. So my kid's going 2 days instead of 5 days, even though we know that early childhood education is a direct predictor for educational success for our children. It's okay that he's going to community college and not UCLA, even though we know it's nearly impossible to go to UCLA. And we know that those 2 years that he's not at UCLA, he's missing out on critical relationship opportunities. We're like, yeah, it's okay. We don't have enough for retirement, but we'll figure it out when we need to. And the reason for that is because we don't have institutionalized service. We don't have institutionalized support. We have institutionalized struggle. Our parents did it. Our parents' did it. And that makes it okay. And we said, what's really going on here? What's the real problem? And the real problem is access. We don't have access to the tools and resources of the wealthy. We can't change what we don't know. And why isn't it changing? Why are we so stuck? Well, who are we going to turn to? Are we really going to turn to the banks to get us wealthy? How many of us really think that the banks are here to get us wealthy? Yeah, right, not so much. You put your money in the bank, your bank takes your money and invests it in the market. Your bank makes 10 times off of your money. Do you think the bank has any interest in making less of that? Do you think the bank has any interest in you learning that you can put your money directly into the market? No. How about the lenders? This is my favorite. We think the lenders are here to get us out of debt. They're called lenders. They're designed to give because they want that interest rate from you. Life insurance, corporate America, the very institutions that our government established in order to help us are not trustworthy. They're not interested in helping and making a difference in our lives to get us out of this predicament. No one is coming to fix it. And the biggest problem is that we accept it as okay. So I got a question. What if there was a way that it could be different? What kind of impact would that have on our lives? What if your kid could go to college and come out with 0 debt? What kind of flexibility would there be to start a company, to do something new, to take risks? What if you knew that your mom could cover her entire mortgage no matter what happened? What kind of comfort could you have? What kind of impact could we have, not just on our community, but on the next generation, if we actually teach them a different way? And the next generation. That's what tonight's about. Tonight's about the what if. At the end of the day, we can get angry about this, but getting angry about the problem, because I used to get really angry, and I used to get really sad, and I would be in here and be like, can you imagine, do you understand what it's like to have your mom sitting in a parking lot desperate to not work another day and not know how you're going to take care of her? But all that did was focus us on the problem and not on the solution. See, no one's coming to fix this, and so we have to fix it. It starts with us. That's why we're here tonight. This is a grassroots movement. We have to make the difference in our families' lives. We have to make the difference in our neighbors' lives. We have to make the difference in our community and in our country. And so we said the only way we can do this, because this is a big job, is if there's a place for everyone and a role for all of us. There are folks in here who hear what I'm talking about and raise their hand and stand up and say, I want to be completely involved. What can I do? I will do anything. There are folks like my mom who say, look, I am on a path. I fully support you, and I am going to find every person I can that you can help. There are folks like my friend Mary Lou who's here to say, I just want to learn more so that I can support you. Because if I can tell this story to one person, that's going to make a difference in our grassroots effort. So tonight, we have an opportunity. And what I would encourage everyone to do is to tap into the what if, whether you're here as an ally or an advocate or as one of our team partners. Be curious. Be inspired. We get to recognize that there's a solution to the problem that's in front of us. That's what tonight is about. So with that, I'm going to introduce the Great White Skulski to share with you the first part of our solution.
Yeah. That's so great. That fires me up because, I mean, look, we all know that the first way to solve a problem is we have to know there is one, right? And so don't we want to know exactly what the issues are so that we can come up with a solution to solve them? And so that's such a fantastic thing that Robin's doing is she's talking about let's define where we are, right? Not where the movies tell us where we are, not where the government tells us where we are. Let's actually find out where we are. Because as a group, this group in the middle, that's 70 million families, if we know where we are, we can start to make changes, right? So now that'd be a great meeting. We're like, okay, great, we know where we are, let's go figure it out on our own, right? Well, that's traditional sort of thinking that's given to us in this group, right? Because what are we taught? Well, we'll just figure it out. And we're gonna talk a lot about that type of thinking, which is great, because we figure it out. When Robin says institutionalized struggle in the center right there, That's what we do. This group of people is institutionalized in, let's just figure it out, right? And it's a struggle. Well, let's see how we can make it not a struggle. Well, the first thing we want to do is we want to have access to financial security. That's the goal. That's what we're talking about here tonight. All of the problems that Robin addressed are solved by financial security with tools and the proper information. So if we're going to do that, why don't we look to a group of people that have already figured it out, right? Why do we have to invent the wheel ourselves, right? There's already a solution in place. Let's look at how the wealthy think about their money and what they do to create it. Well, the first thing they do is the wealthy really operate off of 4 principles. The first principles of the wealthy do is they lock in their advances. They do this by a lot of what Robin talked about. They teach their children the correct thing about education. They have lawyers who help them do trusts. They already have the proper protections, right? They make sure that if something happens, that if life gets them or their family, their children or the rest of their family don't have to start over. So that each generation builds upon the generation before. They lock in these advances. The second thing they do is they develop habits. They realize that they can't outwork bad decisions, right? We've all tried to do this. For me, it's my belly and my love of cupcakes, right? I can't outwork bad decisions, right? So if I get in the habit of every night, if I have dinner at the right time and then I don't snack, that's a habit that helps me over the long term. Well, the wealthy do this with their money, right? It's just institutionalized. When they grow up, if you teach your kid a certain way to do things with his money and spend it or her with their money, those habits, and they don't get themselves into trouble in the future. They also know that they want to leverage experts. Look, the wealthy understand that they don't have to know everything. There's this great story about Ford, the guy that invented the automobile, and they talked to him about he was involved in a deposition or a trial or something, and the hows and the whats and the who's really not that important. What's important is they asked him, he says, well, what do you know about this and what do you know about that? And he said, look, I don't have to know anything about anything. I have a phone or a whatever they had back then on my desk, the intercom, where I press the button and I can get to the right guy to give me the answer. Right? He wanted to spend his time building cars. The wealthy understand is that whatever they're involved in, they get good at that and they leverage experts for everything else. And the other thing they do is they cultivate strategic partners. Now, like, look, this one is critical because no one ever accomplished anything alone. If you look at any great endeavor, right, it's always a team. It's always a group of people pointing in the same direction, trying to do the same thing and accomplish a common goal. And great things can be accomplished like that. Look, in the middle, the mainstream families that we talked about that are the institutionalized struggle, they accomplish amazing, honorable things, right? But they do it with a struggle. The more people that we can get as our team members and cultivate strategic partnership, that struggle goes away. We get to accomplish and do honorable things, but we get to do it. We get to still work hard. Nothing is given to us in life, but we get to do it in a way to where the struggle isn't there and we get to be excited about our lives, right? And then the issue here is then, so if that's true, how do we leverage those 4 principles for us? Because look, I come from a construction family. Neither of my parents went to college. They simply said, you should go to college, and that was it. And as a result of that, I got to go to the University of Arizona, which is a great school. Woohoo, go Wildcats. Our football team is terrible this year so far. But they didn't tell me anything other than that. So I showed up to freshman orientation not knowing anything, right? So the issue as important is that we want to talk about, we don't have access to the tools. We can have all of the principles of the wealthy that we want, but if we don't have the proper tools or even the knowledge how to use them, we're totally screwed. Because then we're competing against people who've been doing them for generations and we have no idea what we're doing. So how do we fix that problem? Here's how we fix it. Well, the first thing we do is we have a leverageable partner, a strategic partner called Primerica. Primerica's been in business since 1977. It has $3 billion in cash. Right? And the one thing that's important, though, it has a track record of delivering for Main Street families. What that means is this, okay? It means that every service that they provide, every sort of financial product that they make is for this group in the middle, and that's all they care about. If you're up here, you're being handled, right? If you're down here, we really don't have the money to help you. We can help you with some of the ideas to get you up here, but we're concentrating on 70 million families because the people who are down here have the government and churches and nonprofits to help them, and the people up here already have all the people helping them. So this company says, look, we're going to stand in the gap, and we're going to provide access to 70 million families. And I'm going to tell you why this is important. Brett and I are talking to a guy, his dad is going to get an inheritance, and it's going to be $1.3 million in cash. They're going to hand him a check. Right? And when he puts that check into a Chase savings account, the next call and 10 minutes later is going to be from a Chase Wealth Advisor. And that Chase Wealth Advisor is used to helping these people up here, only cares about paying his bills. So is he going to have that guy's interest in mind or the Chase Wealth Advisor's interest in mind? right? That's why Primerica is so critical, is because everything that we do, we understand the special needs of this group in the middle. That's our leverageable partner. So let's go back then with Primerica's help. How can we then in the middle use these 4 principles since we don't have access to what the wealthy do? Well, number 1 is lock advances in for a family. Robin talked about this. Level term insurance. My dad was a construction worker / farmer. My mom came from a ranching farming family. When he was building his business, he built a construction business. If he would have been struck by lightning, gored by javelin, or run over by a bus or whatever, we would have been in trouble. I would have had to go to do construction work. But construction work is very honorable, but our family would have started over, right? Because he wouldn't have been able to lock in that advance for his family. We help families make sure that wherever we are right now, whatever work your family has done that is so, like, you've worked so hard for in that struggle, we're going to make sure we don't go back and have to do that stuff again. The second thing that we do, obviously, is we help develop habits. Look, if you save a little bit of money time over a long period of time, you're going to have more money at the end than you do in the beginning, right? So we want to start teaching. Look, we're not going to change anything overnight. Anyone that tries to tell you you can change something overnight is trying to sell you something, right? We want to establish the habits that change our life every day a little bit, so that a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, our lives are different. Incremental change is lasting change. We do that through mutual funds. We teach people, let's start saving a little bit every month so we can figure this out. The third thing that we do is we leverage experts. This is what the managed accounts is about. I like to say that we have the smartest nerds in the world in our basements, right? It's called Lockwood Advisors. They're active money managers. So when my buddy's dad has an inheritance that goes to him that's $1.3 million, we call them up and they're like, all right, what's the best thing to do with this? I don't have to figure that out. I leverage the expert because I don't want to be a financial services person. I want to change people's lives. I want to make sure that people move forward with their family and that they don't have to worry about the struggle. Because look, we're all going to struggle a little bit, but once we get out of the struggle, don't we want our kids to not have to struggle? I found out some news I'm going to share with you guys tonight. Some of you don't know this. My wife and I are expecting. That has been a struggle. Thank you. That has been a struggle to have that happen. Okay? But here's the thing, what I want you guys to understand is that our baby, our daughter that we're going to have, right, we're going to open up a college account for her before she's born, right? My dad and my mom didn't do any of that. They didn't even know how to, right? And once we go with these principles, right, we get in the habits. We start leveraging the experts. We cultivate strategic partnerships. Brett and Robin are a strategic partnership for me. Right? I go to them. They have children. I go to them. When my daughter's gonna be born, I'm gonna go to them. They're partners, right? But also we have all of each other for our business, right? How do we do this? And this team is pointed in the same direction because we have our big bad uncle, Primerica. Primerica is in Duluth, Georgia. They handle all the products and services. But they're not coming out, they're not flying people out here to train us on how to get those products and services to people, right? What they're doing basically is they're making sure that all the tools and resources for that middle group are taken care of, but we have to take care of making people know there's a problem. We have to take care of teaching them these principles so that this institutionalized struggle goes away. Look, I've struggled in my life, okay? In terms of, we all have. But here's what's great, is that once I learn the lessons that I've learned, I can teach those to my daughter so she doesn't have to have those struggles, right? With money. And so what we do here basically is we make sure that all of these people, in terms of in the middle, if we get this information to them, we make it habitual, it's a 2 to 3 generational game plan. What that means is this, is that if you master these principles, you teach them to your children, and your children teach their children, your grandchildren will be stone cold wealthy. And that's how you can know it's real. Because I'm not sitting here telling you, it's like, look, if you save enough money, you guys are gonna be the Rockefellers in 1 generation, right? You just don't make enough money to be able to do that. But what I can tell you is that if your family tree implements these principles, either your children or your grandchildren will be stone cold wealthy. They'll be in this group up here that everybody caters to, and that's amazing because I come from a construction family that doesn't know anything about money. And now my daughter's kids, my grandkids, if they just follow this plan, are set. I get to change my family tree forever, and it's not magic. It's not because I'm a lawyer that I know how to do this. It's not because I'm super smart or anything like that. It's because there are very simple principles that the wealthy use that we're employing on a daily basis. So anyways, I get fired up about that. The next thing I want to do is I want to bring up Brett because some of us maybe don't want to wait for 2 or 3 generations to have that stuff handled. But this is really good if we do want to wait. So the awesome Brett's here.
So there's some they crushed it tonight. I'm sitting in the back going, geez. So all right, so the only one now that can screw it up is me. So that's all right. They're still here. They'll be around in the back. So when the meeting's over, you're like, I don't know what that last guy did. They're staying. You can talk to them. But no, I just, it's funny. I'm sitting in the back of the room, I'm listening, and I'm just so excited about, one of the things that Robin talked about is this curiosity, this desire, this opportunity to realize that it's not over, right? And I was thinking about, and Wade talked about it a handful of times, right? We've all struggled. The challenge is, a lot of us have struggled financially, and we get nervous and scared about or frustrated about the issue that we're at, right or wrong. But what most of us don't do is get frustrated at the fact that we're struggling at all, because everyone we know is struggling. Everyone we've ever met is struggling, right? Our friends, our families. I ask folks, I go, look, most of us learn from our parents and our friends what to do with their money, right or wrong. And do most of us want our parents or our friends' financial life? Now, we love our parents. Most of us love our parents, right? Right? It's okay to lie. No. Right? But the reality is it's an opportunity to grow. So, see, my job said, okay, so if a 2 to 3 generation plan is fantastic, right? The ability to say, 50 years from now, I've got a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, and 8-month-old twins. To know that the twins, their kids will be wealthy is awesome. But the twins aren't going to have kids till they're 30. And then their kids are 30. That's 50 or 60 years. Like, can we all agree that's a long time from now? Now, I'm 42. I remember I got in the business, I was 22. 20 years goes by like this, kind of. Right? It feels like it goes by this fast, right or wrong. But it doesn't really go by this fast, right? It still does a lot of stuff. So we said, okay, well, what else is there? Like, how do we do this in integrity? And the reality is we're going to talk about this path to ownership. And the key to this is about entrepreneurship. It's about the opportunity to start something. See, it's the ability to build something for you and your family. Right? The idea of an entrepreneur is the ability to be able to do it. The ability to start where you stand and create what you need for your life. And the opportunity to be in charge with how big or how much you want to create. See, when we all go get a job, the reality is they tell us what our job is, right or wrong. They tell us what they're going to pay us, what the promotion cycle. There's someone else more that's in charge of our choices, right or wrong. Now, that's not good or bad because we all like to eat. But the reality is most of us can't check these 3 things off at our job. And so we looked at this and said, if we want to do this, really, how do we do this? The only way to get wealthy in one generation in this country is through ownership. And the reason is we have to be able to leverage profit. We have to be able to have money work when we're not there. We have to be able to have passive income to create income from money that was already created and the ability to drive it through enthusiasm. Ownership's the only way, but most of us don't have $500,000 just laying around to go open a business, right or wrong. So we've got to leverage this entrepreneurial spirit because of what gives us, that middle group, that institutionalized, right, struggle, the opportunity to change. And so we said, okay, it's one thing to throw this on the wall and say, this is what we want to do. But what are we going to spend our day doing? People ask me all the time, Brett, what do you do? What is this about? And this is it. See, we run a business incubator designed on purpose to create and sustain high-level entrepreneurs. To have people start where they stand and say, here's what I'd like to create in my life. I know folks that want to make an extra $500 or $1,000 a month, and that alleviates a tremendous amount of pressure. I know folks that want to make an extra $500 a day, and I know folks that want to make $500 an hour. Right? Is there any one of those that are right or wrong? No. There's a space for everybody to be able to create success. And so we sat back and said, okay, well, what is this about and why? Right? And this is what, y'all excited? Right? I'm like, I am nervous, right? I'm sitting there, right? But see, every once in a while, right? I don't like PowerPoint. Like every once in a while, I just love to turn this thing off and talk because I can go. But I need to make sure that I stay on time because I can go. Like this is one of those things. But I never want to miss the message of what we're talking about because of what we're supposed to get across. See, I got in the business. I was 22 years old with $24,000 of credit card debt. I walked into a room very similar to this. Just graduated from UCLA. I was on my way to Stanford and said, man, I know what I'm going to do. I always wanted to be a teacher. This is there. But there was something inside me that said, I don't want to feel like this anymore. 3 weeks before I walked into a meeting and I got in a car repossessed. When I was 15 years old, my parents had gotten their house foreclosed on. And I remember walking outside. I remember a sheriff knocking on the door and saying, you have 4 hours to get everything you out of here and you have to be gone. I remember walking out and there was a a big oak tree or maple tree in the front. I remember hugging and crying, sobbing at 15 years old, going, this isn't supposed to feel like this. I don't ever want, my kids will never go. You guys know those commitments. You ever had your parents screw up so bad that you're like, this is never happening? You ever had that? And then 7 years later, I had done exactly the same thing. I was on the exact same path to economically destroy everything in my life. Because I wanted to? No. I've never gone, this is the dumbest decision ever. I'm totally going to make it. Am I the only one? Like, how many of us have ever made a decision we knew it was right until, like, the dust settled, and then we're like, what? You can't even get back to the same headspace to think it makes any sense, right? I don't know if any of you guys play fantasy football, but I play fantasy football with the family, and like going into the week, like I'll set my lineup, I'm like, oh, this totally makes sense, and then the guy like does nothing, and I'm like, what was I thinking? Like, this is the dumb, like it doesn't even make any sense. Once you know the answer, the path seems stupid sometimes, right or wrong, but we don't get to operate that way. And see, what I walked into a room 18 years ago was a group of people saying, hey, let me show you the answer before it happens. Let me talk to you about what's possible, where things can go. See, the reality is, if you and I want to get free in America, we have to own. You don't have to own Primerica. You don't have to be an owner in Primerica, but you have to own. Now, I'm not telling you you have to get wealthy. That is the beauty of what Wade talked about. Because we said, look, we're going to make a difference one family at a time. And if it's the ability to get their finances in order, that changes families' lives. If someone would have sat with my family when the time they were 2 years old, we wouldn't have gotten our house foreclosed on. My college savings program wouldn't have been in the universal life policy that ate itself, so I had to work myself to put myself through school, so there's a really good chance I wouldn't have made the same economic choices and I wouldn't have got the car repossessed. If someone from Primerica would have sat down 25 or 30 years ago with my family, everything had an opportunity to be a little bit different. But no one showed up. See, when we talk about this isn't a theory. This is about the lives being touched, whether it's small or big. And I walked in and said, man, I want to be a part of something special. My whole life, both my parents were teachers. All I ever wanted to do was be a teacher. That was my biggest passion, right? I love teaching. And someone told me I learned something. They said, look, in life, there's two types of teacher. The first type of person, first type of teacher teaches for someone to learn. Now, I remember I am not the greatest student in the history of the world. My attention span, what? And so I remember going to school, they'd hand out a syllabus, I'd read it and go, okay, here's what I need to do to get the grade that I want. I would never look at that piece of paper again. As soon as the final was over, I'd walk out of the class, and as soon as the test was over, I couldn't tell you anything that happened. And that was taught by people that were very passionate about teaching. And that was never me. I love teaching for people to accomplish. To be able to say, because at this point in time, my life is different. Someone taught me, showed me, gave me guidance, gave me an opportunity to apply it to where my life can be fundamentally different. Man, I'll stay up all night. I'll go through the ends of the earth to be able to make that, because that's that driving passion. There's something inside. So I was at a place where I'm like, man, am I going to go to learn to teach, or is there an opportunity to make a shift? And that's really what tonight's about. Is this opportunity to say, look, the keys to ownership in our opportunity. See, the reality is if we're going to solve the problem for this group of people, we have to look at it differently. If we don't have $500,000 of capital, we can't go 5 years without making a single dollar profit. Isn't that true? How many of you like eating every single day? Multiple times, right? Well, if you're not creating income, it's hard to eat. That whole Popeye, I'll pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today thing doesn't work. Now, the funny, everyone over the age of 35 laughed. Everyone under the age of 25 went, who's Popeye? Right? Right? So it's just this thing. It doesn't work. And so we said, wait a second. If that doesn't work, what are we going to do? We said, man, we got to be able to harness that entrepreneurial spirit. That person, that guy, that gal, that person that says, I like what I do. I'm okay. I'm doing this. I'm making my money. I'm covering my bills. But, man, there's got to be something more. We said, man, if there was an opportunity to harness that spirit, something special could happen. We have to have a leverageable support system. Why? Wade was talking about it, right? He's a smart guy, right? Really, but his passion's not building algorithms and beta coefficient, standard deviation, investment profiles. But people need high-level investment strategies if you've got $1.3 million, right or wrong. See, in this business, it always makes me laugh. I get into conversations with people, and they're like, oh, I'll manage your money. What are you talking about? If it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you're talking to me, you're not managing money because there's too much going on in the world. You just missed 9 opportunities talking to me. See, the reality is if we don't take a team approach, if there's not a support system in place, we can't be all things to all people. So we said we've got to have access to a leverageable support system so great people can do their job, but the rest of it can still be done at a high level. And then there has to be a transitional path. Why? Because without a $500,000 of capital, you can't quit your job. And you shouldn't. But we said, man, what if your job paid you enough money and you saw the impact of what we did and you just made an extra $300 or $500 a month? If all of us had an extra $300 in our account right now, wouldn't we smile a little bit more? Right? I remember the day that I was able to put every bill on automatic draft. Now, this was a long time ago where everything was not automatic, but that was like a big deal for me. Why? Because when you have everything on automatic draft, and you don't have to check the dates to make sure that everything's okay. You guys all, you were like, I have my bills on automatic draft. Yeah, because you saved the $5 a month because now everything's on the internet. But you're still maneuvering it around. You guys aren't excited about this, right? There's something there. But how do you get there? We get there by saying, I got enough money to pay my bills. Let me learn how to grow. And so we said, man, how does this, right? What is this about? Well, the Primerica sat down and said, okay, we understand that there's 70 million families that are stuck. That's a problem. The bigger problem is they're stuck and they don't know it. If you know there's a problem, you can fix it, right or wrong. But if you don't actually know there's a problem, we have to make sure that we understand the problem before we actually can fix anything, right or wrong. And so we said, man, we've got to be able to do that. Well, how are we going to do it? We've got to attract great people. See, I was a waiter. Guess who I know how to talk to? I'm pretty good at talking to waiters, right? Right, so we start sitting down. Hey, and we laugh. My friend Yubi here, right, works for Coca-Cola in stores. Guess who he's pretty good at talking to? People that are vendors that work in stores. So all of a sudden, Sonia works for Pretzel Company. Why? Because there's a familiarity in understanding what's going on. That's very normal. Aren't you comfortable talking to people that are in the same world that you're in? Well, guess what? If you know a great message and you can communicate with people who desperately need it, don't we have a shot for opportunity, for impact, for changing somebody's lives? So we said in order to do that, we have to attract the best of the best. But most of us in this area might not have access to $5,000 or $20,000 or $50,000 or $100,000 to start a business. So we said, look, let's take the economics away. Costs a couple $1,000 to get licensed. You cover the background check, $124. We'll take care of the cost. Primerica absorbs that because we want to give everybody a shot. We needed a partnership platform. One of my favorite concepts is this. Because we said, man, there's 2,000 people in Duluth, Georgia that represent Primerica Financial Services. They get up every day saying, man, let's build the greatest financial services company on the planet. We've got a back office support company that says, man, let's make sure that the client services and the agent retention and all that stuff is done so that we don't have to transfer that responsibility to our part-timers. So that we can have our people that are here say, man, I want to be a part of something that can be great at making an impact, knowing that high-level professionalism has their back and they don't have to be all things. If you ever get into a conversation with a small business owner and you ask them, hey, how do you do your marketing? How do you do your structure? How do you do your payroll? How do you do your human resources? How do you do this? There's 97 things they have to do. Most of them are very good at the front of the house and the back of the house, like, oh, I know, and they don't like or aren't very good at any of the stuff back there. Well, if you don't like it or aren't very good at it, what's the likelihood of you being able to fully max out? See, that undermines the business. And then at the end of the day, it's got to be work. We could have it's first world problems, right? We could have all the solutions in the world. If you're trying to figure out how you're going to get enough gas to come, helping somebody else becomes a little bit of a luxury. Now, no one likes to say that out loud. We like to say, no, we help people. Look, right, when you fly out, the first time any of you went on an airplane and you saw the little thing, the lady that came out, she did the thing, showed you how to buckle a seatbelt, which is a weird thing, right? Because it's against the law to drive in California without a seatbelt, even in a bus. So the fact that they have to show us how to use a seatbelt at the airport, that's a little weird, right? But then they drop this little thing down. And the first thing they do is they say, put it on you and then help your child. Now, as a parent, that is the strangest concept in the world. Wait, so there's no oxygen and I'm supposed to make sure I breathe before my sons breathe? You are crazy. Doesn't make any sense. Until you realize, wait, if there's not enough oxygen, and I'm trying to put it, and I put it on Brett, and then I put it on Ty, and then I pass out, Luke and Jax have no oxygen, and I'm gone. So the idea is, I better make sure I'm taken care of, because they take for granted if you're awake and alive, you're going to make sure your kids are taken care of. See, guys, we've got to make sure that we have an opportunity to not only impact somebody else's life, but we've got to take care of our family too. And so we said, okay, our number one goal is, right, we got a role for all of us, right? And Robin talked about our allies, the people in our lives that understand and support what we're doing. We've got our advocates, the people that get emotionally involved and say, man, I know somebody who needs to hear this. And we've got our associates, people that want to be active involved, say, wait, I think I can contribute and participate in this. Well, the number one thing that we want to do, what tonight's about, is about all three. It's about making sure everybody in our life is clear what we're doing and why. We believe that there's a fundamental problem in this country. We believe that the institutions that are in place to take care of it aren't. That they are not financially incentivized to. This group of people pays the taxes to support these people, these organizations, and their discretionary income pays these people's lifestyles. The system is set up the way it is. The banks, the insurance companies, the lenders have figured out how to profit on our ignorance. There is no change. Isn't that depressing? Could you imagine if the meeting was over right now? Thank you for coming. So we said, no, we understand that if we take the tools of the wealthy, the thinking of the wealthy, we bring it and we institutionalize that, and we give people the ability to digest the information, we can make real, sustainable change. But the only way we can do that, yes, we need a support system. And yes, we need people to tell the story, but we need people on the street that can help us grow. As we said, we need aligned goals. We talked about the 2 to 3 generation, which is fantastic, but what about the 1 generation plan? If we could align the goals where we could attract amazing people that want to be a part of this and incentivize them to contribute on this mission, we could reach the people and incentivize the people to do it, and we could grow something. And so we said, this is what we're going to do. So we created a position we call GAPs, or Gathering Asset Partners. These are folks that have little to no interest in actually building our business. Right? I was talking about the folks that are 45, 50, 60 years old getting ready to retire. Or people that are teachers or doctors, and people that are like, man, I love what I do, but I know people that need help in this area. And we said, look, one of the things that we all need to know is there's 10,000 people turning 65 years old every day for the next 19 years. That's staggering. Once we realize this is the first generation that's ever had access to a 401k or an IRA. Ever. Their parents had pensions. The parents had a piece of paper that when they retired that said, you're normally making $1,711, now you're going to make $1,711. Every year it's going to go up 3%, you're going to get your Social Security, and you're good. But now instead of getting a letter that says you're going to get $1,300 or $1,700 or $2,600 or $4,600, these people are retiring, and on that piece of paper, it says you have $381,417. Do with it what you may. Now these are people that have made $45,000 or $50,000 every year for their life. Have they talked to the wealth advisors in this country? Do they have any idea how to articulate, how to ask the questions, how to know who's good and bad, how to make sure they're taken care of? Is that a skill they've spent 20 or 30 years developing? No. They've watched funny commercials on TV and said, that doesn't matter to me because I'm not wealthy. But now their paper says I have $300,000 or $500,000 or $800,000, and it's all the money they have. If they lose it, they can't go work for another 30 years. They're stuck. And this industry, with such an amazing reputation of putting other people's needs first, is going to go, come in. And so we said, wait, what if we could empower amazing people with great passion? And say, look, if we get you licensed, and if your aunt retires, if you say there's someone you need to talk with, you just need to hear this because they created a system that's designed for us. If our GAPs, if we create $1 million of assets from our GAPs under management, passive income is about $4,300 a year. It's $380 a month. Look, is $380 going to change your life? No. But for these people, they didn't end up somewhere they didn't need to be. And that's Disneyland for the weekend. That's a little bit better quality of life. Maybe that's the Hawaii trip once a year. This isn't someone who's active in the business. And then my favorite is $5 million, is about $1,800 in passive income. Wow. I have a dream. I have a dream, right? One of my dreams. So I want 1,000 gaps in the next 10 years. 1,000 people over the age of 55 that start working with a spare time, get their licenses, and from 55 to 65, they accumulate $5 million of assets and it grows, because that's more money than Social Security is going to pay. Could you imagine someone part-time, spare time, just introducing and recommending somebody the ability to go through and having their entire fundamental life change by reaching the people who need it? See, to me, that's kind of cool. See, I want to sit down and go, man, if I'm on a path, this is a pretty good way, because how many of us can use an extra $1,800? Like, we wouldn't, like, throw it away. Some of you are like, I don't need it. Great, you could give it away, but someone else could use it. And you get the tax write-off, so you get the benefit of it. We've got our part-time players. See, one of my favorite things about this is we have a lot of people in this room that love their job, that love doing what they're doing. Tonight's not about your job's your enemy. You got to quit. It's terrible. No, this is about creating the greatest part-time opportunity in the history of the world. Why? Because you got to learn as an entrepreneur how to develop these skills. Say, look, keep your job. But there's lots of families that need to lock in advances and develop the habits. And if you sure want to do it, we can make $200 or $900 every time we did it. If you help somebody protect their family, lock in those advances, and accumulate wealth for their family, and you made a couple $100, is that an okay thing? Well, you should do it for free. No, you got to take care of your family. The mask comes down. You got to take care of your family while you're taking care of somebody else's family as well. Oh, by the way, they still have access to the same gap system, so the opportunity. Imagine doing both. Imagine the ability to have $300 or $400 a month show up on the first of the month and help a family or two every single month. Now the ability to make $1,000 a month, not quit your job, not wreck your life, not work full time, not miss every day, right? Not change your family's life. Say, man, if I trip into somebody, if there's someone I know that wants to do something special, I want to share this information because no one's coming. And then we're going to have some folks that are like, yeah, Brett, you know that thing about the folks that love their job? Yeah, I'm not one of them. See, I'm not a good employee. I never have been. Right? I'm the type of guy that if you tell me where to go and what to do, I'm going to tell you where to go and exactly how I think you should do it. Right? It's just, I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying it's true. Right? I always laugh. There are dog people and there are cat people. Never get confused whether they like dogs or cats. But for me, you take a dog and you throw a dog, not like hard, but you know, you throw a dog turns around, goes, what's going on? He thinks you're playing. He comes right back. Did I get in trouble? You guys all know that dog? Take a cat, throw the cat. Cat's like, I want to go this way. I'm a cat guy. I'm like, all right, thanks for the momentum, right? This is cool, right? It's all right. Well, we said, look, we needed a space. We need a space for our spare time and our part-time. But what about those of us that say, man, I don't want to feel like this? Because we have a Halloween party, but if you want to have some fun on Friday night, come on in. We got moonshine and, you know, skull beer bongs and jello shots. We got our priorities in order. We like hanging out and having some fun. You're all invited. But we're going to be around. If there's any questions we can ask or answer, please ask them. We love you guys. Thanks. Have a great night.
Let's go.